Hey there guys, what's going on? It's Gail right here, back on the 5-9 channel, and we are back with some bit of a gotcha discussion. Of course, for those of you who may have been living under a rock, not been paying attention to the top grossing charts, obviously if you're a Dokkan player, you might have been actually looking at the top grossing charts on the regular, hoping we'd get top grossing, but ever since February, I think it was 22nd, there's been a certain title that has been dominating the first place ranking. 70 days consecutive on the Google Play Store at first place. Nearly the same for iOS, apart from I think it was 2 to 3 days where it faltered to Monster Strike and I think the baseball gacha game from Konami, and that's Uma Musume. Today with me I have Ignan to discuss this. There's articles that have come out which has quotes and comments from other companies, other gacha companies that is, and we will be dissecting this. We will be explaining why we, and I think also some information from we've talked to Garesh and stuff like that regarding how and why Uma Musume is so popular, and we'll be giving a bit of insight into that. But Ignan, before we get into all of that, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Woke up like 3 hours ago. Internet's back up. It's working again. I'm excited to talk about this game because it's actually pretty fun.
Good stuff, good stuff. So I'm going to quickly run through this article that we have on screen. There's two articles that we will be going through in this recording or this video. There's one obviously discussing Cygames' consecutive days, or Cygames, I should say, Uma Musume's first place for 70 days, 70 consecutive days. And then there's one article regarding Akatsuki themselves. So let's go through this article. So looking back on the Google Play sales rankings from May 1st to 7th, Cygames' Uma Musume's run was continued at first place. From February 28th to the May 8th, it has been in the lead for 70 consecutive days. Mixie's Monster Strike followed in second place, but unlike the App Store, it did not reach the top position, and this is specifically the Google Play Store. Now, some games have also commented, or some gaming companies have commented on the impact of Uma Musume on other apps. Akatsuki here are saying basically there is no big impact on the titles that we operate. High quality titles are hit in the mature market, and the composition is to gain market share so we can improve our development and expressiveness. This is obviously rough translations, but they're basically saying there's no big impact on Dokkan or whatever other gaming titles they have. Cygames and Uma Musume being a high quality title are always a huge hit. They reaffirm the importance of continuing investment to increase and gaining essential creative power. So basically they're just saying no impact on us. We're supposed to do what we're trying to do, and we'll just continue investing into the game going from there on. We can't do much about the other guys. We have to focus on ourselves, and we gotta make sure that we are taking the slice of the market share, right? We don't want to be lagging behind, kind of, but we're not too worried about Uma Musume. Kolopol, obviously Shironeko Project, they are the developers for Shironeko Project. I don't think there was any general impact. However, does a similar title have any impact? We're scrutinizing, so I assume here they're more along the lines of just saying Uma Musume didn't have an impact on their game, but if there was a similar title to appear of the same quality and same level, will it have the same impact? They're gonna scrutinize and look into that. And Mixie Monster Strike's developers said, since it is the same smartphone game, in the short term it might have a slight impact, in the sense of like it's the same market sphere, smartphone game, there's gonna be some competition, so there's gonna be some slight impacts, but they are in a unique position where Monster Strike in the long run has been a game that has been in the market for super long, and the impact overall will be minor. So Iggy, before we go in, what are your thoughts on the comments by these guys before we discuss Uma Musume and how powerful it has become? So do you think this is to be expected, that these guys would kind of try and shrug it off?
Yeah, I think, I'm gonna be honest, I think the Mixie company's the only ones being honest in any way. Because Akatsuki, I mean, we already know that Dokkan's revenue, I believe Nolar said, is down like 25% for the first quarter compared to like last year.
Yep. So yeah, we'll come on to that in a second. There is a proper article about it regarding it. Apparently, looking at the results for the fourth quarter, January to March 2019, I think, sales decreased 13.4% year on year to 7,417 million yen, and operating income decreased by 31.7% to 1,984 million yen. In particular, operating income fell sharply, but it seems this is due to the factor different from that of other company titles, basically. So they have lost some money basically in terms of operating income and sales effectively. So yeah, and also one more thing before we go on as well, some Chinese app companies also commented that it was more or less affected as well. So even the Chinese companies are, like, I assume in this case more so particularly MiHoYo, of course, you know, Genshin and Honkai Impact developers effectively said the same lines alongside Mixi that yeah, there is going to be some effect, but we don't know the extent of this effect just yet, right? So yeah, well, go on, Agi. Go for it.
Because I think no, what? Don't quote me on this. I believe Nolar said it's made like over 100 million or something already.
Yeah.
And this, keep in mind, this is a JP only release, and it's going to be global soon. But right now it's only JP, and it's already stomping all these other games. Genshin made 100 million in its first 2 weeks, I believe.
Yes.
But that was a global release game.
We also have to
compare that.
Yeah. We also have to remember Genshin was also on PC and PS4, right? So that obviously has an effect.
Yes, and this is a game that's in one country. Of course, you use like Coup app and stuff like that, but a majority of its like direct-to-player base right now is in Japan.
Yeah.
And within within like 2 months, it's put up the same revenue that Genshin, the game that trends every day, put out in like its first 2 weeks with a worldwide release. Like this game came in punching hard, bro. Like it's insane.
Yeah. No,
it's why it's funny seeing these other comments like, oh yeah, it doesn't affect us. Like, bro, you're lying. It affects you hard.
Yeah. No, there's obviously gonna be a lot of envy, you know. These guys have to be feeling green with envy. Like, there's no way like Akatsuki can just say like, oh, you know, we're fine. It's okay. We still have, like, I can see like Mixi said, if Akatsuki said something like, we have our audience, but yes, there's gonna be some people that will be playing other gachas and they might want to shift to this gacha instead of ours. That makes sense because that is actually how it works, right? You're gonna have the core Dragon Ball audience that will be playing Dokkan, of course, so you might not necessarily see them going and playing Uma Musume instead, right? But there are gonna be some fans who are like fans of a lot of different things and they'll be like, I like that, and they might go on to that. But speaking of which, we should talk about why Uma Musume is so popular, right? So of course, let's talk about the developers first and foremost. You know, we've kind of done this already in the first look video that we did for Uma Musume on the channel, which if you haven't seen, be sure to go check it out if you're interested in maybe trying out that game for yourself. But Uma Musume's developers are Cygames. Now, Cygames have had a amazing track record in their gacha games. Like, they're very few come close to it. They've developed games like Grand Blue Fantasy, a very long-lasting title. They have just hit their 7th year anniversary, and well, the 7th year anniversary was like a couple of months ago, so they're on towards their 8th year anniversary sometime next year, of course. I think it's in Feb next year. And then they of course have done Dragalia Lost, a big title, of course, in collaboration with Nintendo. They have done Princess Connect, so, and of course World Flipper, and now Uma Musume. So their roster isn't something to scoff at. A lot of these titles are big titles that have been consistently either have been around for a very long time or have generated a lot of revenue and have a very big fan base, right? So Cygames alone is... Go ahead,
You compare that to Akatsuki. Like, what do we know them for? Dokkan Battle? And like, do they even actually have any other games? I've never heard of them.
I know they have some other games, but I don't know what exactly consists in those games. I'm not gonna front. Because I've visited...
So like Cygames...
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So Cygames already comes in with like a huge reputable like company with this title, and compared to Dokkan, they released another game. Like, the only other thing you have to compare it to is, well, Dokkan. And then it's just like that game is, I guess we could talk about that later, but it's kind of lagging behind, where it's still stuck in like 2015 compared to where this game is new. It looks good. It plays really simple. And it's got like everything going for it for like a casual audience. Yeah,
that's, I think, one thing we have to completely address is quality, right? Like, I said this multiple times, even on the 5-9 streams, as well as in recordings here as well. And I think we've even discussed it in the other Dokkan video that we did, in terms of like, I think it was right after in Broly, and we were like, it hasn't hit top grossing. How has Broly not hit top grossing when, you know, there used to be a time where the Japanese players were jealous of the global players getting tech Broly, and the fact that Broly didn't get top grossing is somewhat of an indication, right? And the main point I mentioned then, and I'll still say it here, is, and following up on what Ignan said, is quality matters a lot. And that may be the story quality, may it be the game's quality, may it be the UI quality in the sense of the interface and whatnot. It all matters, right? When you're playing a mobile game, and in this day and age, especially, you look at games like Genshin, for example, like an open world gacha game, something we never thought would happen, right? Then you have games like FGO and Grand Blue Fantasy, which rely heavily on their story and work exceptionally well because of that. Same with Epic 7, if you include that in there. And then you have games like Uma Musume and so on and so forth, which maybe you might not pay too much attention to the story, but the quality of the game, the graphics, the simplicity, it all works. And then you have Dokkan, right? And go ahead.
With Uma Musume coming out as high quality as it is, Genshin being as high quality as, that makes sense, because like the scene is so much more competitive now. There's like new gacha games coming out every week.
Yeah.
And back when Dokkan first came out, there really wasn't that much competition. I don't think it was like Dokkan, Blazing, Bleach Brave Souls, or like something else. Like the
FGO came out 6 months after. Yeah, Pad was around, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they're able to get away with like having the lower quality thing. But we're at the point where there's so many like extremely high quality games coming out that like Dokkan being stuck at 2015 is just not cutting it at this point.
The whole point is that the market has become oversaturated, right, with gacha games now. So it's kind of like the market is a lot more competitive, right? And you can't just say like, oh, we can lift our foot off the throttle, right? We have to keep pushing. And you see games doing that with, like, again, like I say, FGO is continuously releasing their story, which allows them to live happily because people are invested in their story as well as the franchise in itself. And now, yes, the waifus are a plus, but the story is what's carrying a lot of FGO right now. And then you have games like Genshin, which of course is a new blood, but it has the quality and has the potential as well. Same with Uma Musume. So obviously there's that, but there's also another factor in Uma Musume outside of quality and the developers themselves, and it's the themes of the game itself. Horse racing is a massive deal in Japan, and not only is horse racing a massive deal in Japan, idols are also a huge thing in Japan. You look at all the VTubers going around, you look at series like Love Live, Bang Dream, and so on, doing super well in Japan. And Uma Musume is basically a combination of the two, which means guaranteed success. You know, like I would probably say, even if it wasn't Cygames making it and somebody else, and if it was a bit more basic or maybe not as high quality, but it was still of decent quality, right? The mere and sheer fact that it is horse racing plus idols would probably guarantee it at least a top 20 to 30 spot easily. What do you think, Iggy?
Yeah, definitely. This is really easily up there because, like I said, those are two huge things in Japan. Yeah. Now it might not transfer as well when it gets a global release. Like something like horse racing, who cares? But like when it comes to like the idols and stuff like that, idols also have like a huge thing over here as well. Like look at K-pop. Like,
that is true. That is actually true.
Is that an exact thing? Is that an exact like correlation? But like that's pretty much like it probably is the same thing basically.
It's
but, like,
similar.
You see how many people are huge into like K-pop and like idolize them and stuff like that as well. And like, you know, like, oh, she should have stanned Luna and all that stuff, right? So like it can still transfer well over here as well. But maybe not the horse racing part, but like the whole idol stuff,
No,
and also VTubers, like people love VTubers over here and stuff as well.
Yeah, especially since the release of Hololive EN with Gura and, you know, Kiara and the other girls. It's just like, it's too popular for its it's too popular. It's just too popular. Simple as. There's no other way to describe it, right? So obviously Uma Musume is on track to still being a complete dominator of the market. It's going to be very interesting to see how much longer it can last. Obviously this is 70 days of consecutive first place, right? So
I don't think any other game has ever done that, right?
No, not in recent times. I don't think, not at all, not in recent times whatsoever. I can't think of the last time where I've seen a game consistently be dominating this much. So I have no clue how much longer it's going to be at the top. And they release banners. From what I'm hearing, it's every 14 days they're releasing banners. So, you know, it's insane. And the weirdest part is there's pity in the game, and they're still managing to get first place consistently because people are buying the hell out of this game. Like, they're buying packs and stuff consistently no matter what. So it's crazy to me, like, that even a game with pity and everything, and you know, you're guaranteed to get the unit after a certain point and everything, and they're still spending on this game to just and it's here, like, it's consistently here. So
yeah, so that's something I want to point out. It's like, I know, like, there's some people that make the argument for tokens, like, oh, if they add pity, no one want to spend in the game. But I'm one of those people, like, if you treat me right, I'll treat you right. Like, KOF, like, that game, like, they treat their players pretty well. Yeah. And, like, that makes me want to spend money. Like, I play it, like, once or twice a month, and I still drop, like, $50 here and there on that game. It just makes you want to actually spend on them. Yeah, and they actually, like, reward you stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the reason why, like, I don't think I've been interested in spending in Dokkan in the recent couple of months / year. Like, I think the last time I spent was maybe, like, the capsules or the daily capsule thing back in 5th year anniversary. That was the last time I spent on Dokkan. This was last June, basically, right? And outside of that, the only games I've otherwise wanted to spend on has been Genshin. Guarantees me a unit, so I'm happy to spend on that. I don't mind. Princess Connect maybe guarantees me a unit after 30 multis. I'm happy with that. So, like, there is an incentive, because if you're, the whole point is they're guaranteeing you something, right? Whereas Dokkan doesn't guarantee anything. These games guarantee you something, so you're more willing to say, like, okay, I'm gonna give you some money so long as I can guarantee that unit, which they are kind of, right? So that works a lot in the favor of games like Uma Musume and such, right? So that's obviously Uma Musume side. So let's talk a bit about the Dokkan side of things. Like we said, you know, they have been very, very, like, oh, it's not really that bad. You know, it's okay. It doesn't have that much of an impact on us. We're fine, you know. We'll be fine with it. There is no such thing as an impact on our titles. Do you think that's true?
Not all. Well, you know it isn't true, because, like, put in perspective, this is the best year Dokkan has ever had in, like, game-wise. Like, the quality of life and stuff they've been adding, and, like, just easy A's, units are really good, and they still lost, like, a good chunk of revenue compared to last year, where the game is basically dead the entire year. Yeah.
I mean, I'll also say this. I will say this. We have to acknowledge that it was a pandemic, so obviously there has to be some consideration in that, right? But and of course, Uma Musume came out this year, not last year. But that still doesn't change the fact that you're still taking a pie. You're still, you know, you're still taking a pie from the market share, right? Like, it's not all new players going to Uma Musume. There is going to be a couple of players from Dokkan shifting over to Uma Musume. Some players going from Monster Strike to Uma Musume, and so on and so forth, right? So I feel like it's a bit of a stretch for them to say, oh, there's no impact on us. I definitely think there is a limited impact. I don't think it's a big impact, because I still do believe, like I mentioned earlier on, Dragon Ball fans aren't necessarily all also Uma Musume fans, right? So you're not gonna see truth. You're not gonna see truth all of a sudden go, like, you know, I'm gonna go jump over to Uma Musume and spend on that game instead and become an Uma Musume YouTuber or something, right?
Wait, real quick, touch on, like, YouTube side of things. There's a dude that, like, jumped up to 500,000 subs just off of Uma Musume. Yeah. In Japan, and that's insane.
Yep. That's
Dude
insane.
is the biggest Dokkan tuber, and he isn't even at 300k. I'd say, like, even that, like, that is a big number. But he's only like 300k compared to this game that came out a couple months ago, and that dude's already at 500k off of it.
Yeah. No, not only that, I was gonna compare to also Duel Links Meadow, the person who the biggest guy in the Duel Links side of things, and he's only at 250k subs, right? And that's quote unquote the pinnacle, because if he's the most sub, that means he's the peak of that game basically right now. And to see these guys basically double that by 500k for some random YouTuber or Japanese YouTuber just streaming or playing this game and doing content on it is insane. It's absolutely insane. Yeah. So I think, in my opinion, I do believe Dokkan has had an impact. It definitely has. There's not a question about it. But at the same time, I don't think people should necessarily worry about them not getting money. I think the biggest thing it's more so important for the companies themselves to acknowledge the fact that yes, we are going to lose money potentially, right? We're not gonna necessarily do the same we were, where oh, we'll get a top grossing here, we'll get a top grossing there, we'll get a lot of the money and we'll get a big chunk of the pie. Maybe you might have to share of some of it to Uma Musume and other people, right? Any thoughts from you before we close off? I think
we pretty much covered everything. The game is huge. I think its benefit is good company. It's a wholesome game. It's very simple, which is just like Dokkan, which I think is also something that's probably factored in, because like, why did I play Dokkan that came out 2015? It's still stuck in 2015 gameplay, when you can play Uma Musume, which is also simple, and like you can just play in a train or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like updated. It's got the graphics, everything. It's really good on the wells, good on the free players. Every time I log in, I get like almost a multi, like
yeah,
every time I log into the game, dude. Like, it's really crazy.
Yeah, Psy games are known for their generosity, and also another thing we also have to acknowledge is that while obviously Dragon Ball is getting a new movie next year, we haven't had necessarily anything pushing Dragon Ball as a franchise in the last 2 years or so, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Uma Musume had its initial anime inception when the game was supposed to release back in 2018. It had its first season then we had a spin-off in 2019, and then of course this year we had the second season in the winter season, so it aired from January to March. So there's obviously content for them to rely on and to promote their franchise as a whole, right?
Yeah.
So it obviously gives some more of a advantage to them compared to Dokkan. But again, once Dokkan, obviously the new movie comes out, potentially they'll probably be able to sell a bit more and, you know, get more interest in the franchise again, and maybe Dokkan can get more players back again. And maybe version Z, if they improve that quality, you know, the overhauling of the game potentially, if it happens, it's time for it to happen now, because any longer than this, and there is a very high chance that it could lose out quite drastically to other games, and potentially even games from the same franchise, if, you know, Bandai decides to release another Dragon Ball gacha that, you know, is updated, higher quality, but provides the same casual and simplicity that Dokkan has. You know, that could inevitably happen. I mean, Legends, of course, is the more PvP side of things. I feel bad for Legends. I just think Legends has been just curb stomped by everything at this point. I don't think it's okay, the anniversary for Legends is coming around the corner. I'm calling it here. I don't expect higher than top 3. Like, it's gonna reach 3rd place.
Top 3, that's generous.
I'm giving it 3rd place at best. I don't think it's gonna get higher than that.
I don't even think it's gonna hit top 10.
Oof. Bro, if it doesn't hit top 10, that's something else, man. That's gonna be something to look forward to. But yeah, I think that's where we will round up this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please leave a like. Comment down below, what do you guys think of Uma Musume if you've played it. Hopefully you enjoyed our insights. You guys can provide us some of your own insights regarding the matter if you have any. Subscribe for more gaming and anime related content on the channel. From Iggy and I, we will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy, everybody.
See ya.